Hi guys, Jessica Senesac back here with Chalk It Up to Crop videos, parenting edition. Oh yeah. So this is another part in my series on an interview I did with a speech language pathologist and a early childhood special educator. Today I'm going to focus on what the early childhood special educator taught me about building literacy, because that is actually what he specializes in. Okay guys, today I'm not going to talk about things that you've heard before in my other reading videos. I'm going to tell you exactly what I learned. So number one, do not teach your child to read if they do not show an interest in learning how to read. Okay? Don't force it on them. Do not drill and kill. Sitting there with flashcards is terrible for them, because all you're going to do is kill their joy and love of reading and just completely hurt them in the long run when it comes to building literacy. So really, what is reading? So according to Tim Ostall, the early childhood special educator who specializes in literacy, he says that all that reading is looking at a picture and telling a story. And that is really your true first step of teaching your child to read. So truly, even if they aren't reading the words and letters, they're telling a story with the pictures. That's the real first step. And that's something that I learned from him. So what is really cool that you can do is create books with your child. So this is a book that my son and I made after I did the interview, and he got to pick out the story, he got to draw the pictures, and I wrote the words for him, because why not? And what was really cool is I wrote down what he told me to say, and later that night when I had him read the book to his dad, he was repeating the same words. Even though he wasn't reading the words that I wrote, he was still saying what words were on the page. He was telling the same exact story. It was really cool. So this was How to Train Your Jargon. And what I did is I just taped some paper together. I let him cut some papers in half so we can have a smaller book. And so I'm huge on independent learning and allowing them to do as much as they can on their own that they show an interest in. So he drew Toothless, and he's flying, and he's standing in the grass. Yeah, he's not flying, sorry. He was looking, let's see, he's at home playing with his dragon Legos. And then we turn the page, and now Toothless is looking up at the sky and the sun and the clouds. And he drew Toothless again. And what's really cool is I didn't know how well he could draw a dragon, because these are the wings, you got the head, you got the body, and he laughed because he has lots of legs. And he said that this is a tail even though it's really short. He thinks that's funny. And in the end, he didn't want me to write anything. Toothless here is upside down, and he just randomly told this part of the story to Dad at dinner time, and then he turns it and says, "The end," which is exactly what you have here. So that's a really great activity for building literacy and a good starting point. Even if you open up a book and have them tell you what's on the pages based on what the picture is, that's still reading. Let them read. And I let my son do this with our baby. You can, if you don't have another child, you can still have them read to you, or you can set up some stuffed animals and make it a whole thing. Like, let's do a playtime story time. Let's set up your stuffed animals and you can read to them. And just make it really exciting and fun, and let them pick the books. That's the next really important thing to take away from this, is let them choose what they want to read. Do not force them to read specific books, because their schools are not going to do that anymore. Schools don't do that, so you don't need to do that. So whenever you take them to the bookstore, whenever you take them to the library, let them be the person who chooses the books. You can give them options. If some things you think are going to be a little bit too big or too expensive, say, okay, here's what you can choose from. And if they have like a bunch of books that they're interested in, okay, you can pick 1 or 2 or 3 of these, okay? and then bring them home, read them, and let them keep reading the same story over and over and over, because then they are going to chime in. What I liked to practice was I would start to read a line. So say it's The Cat in the Hat by Dr. Seuss. The sun did not shine, it was too wet to play, so we sat in the house all that. And my son would say, cold, cold, wet day. And he'd finish it. First, I started with one word that I'd have him to say, and it usually was a word that rhymed with another word that he just heard. So it would give him that reminder of what was coming up, and I picked the same words over and over and over for him to participate in saying. And then the words got longer and longer and longer, and sometimes he would say a whole line, especially with his favorite book, The Little Engine That Could. So that's where the next tip and trick comes in, is to read pattern books. This suggestion was actually from Steve Brim, the speech language pathologist, because those pattern books have lots and lots of repetition, which makes it easier for them to memorize, which makes them want to speak. So not only are they interested in reading, but they're also interested in speaking and developing language. You see how that all just kind of twists together. It's fantastic. And then if you click in the link below, there is a link to the article. There's the part where I talk about reading tips and literacy from Tim Ostel's point of view. There's another link to a book called Bob Books. This is the really good starting point on when you are starting to actually have your kid read words. And what was really cool is that Tim was saying that you can have a child that's memorized what words look like. It doesn't mean they know how to read. And you can't gauge a child's understanding of something based on what they're doing on a tablet, because they probably just memorize steps and how to get there and how to beat stuff. It doesn't mean that they're actually understanding what they're doing on the tablet, and you can't really figure that out until you sit down, you talk with them, and you work through stuff with them. So that's really important. I don't talk about that in the article. Then additionally, so when you start off with those little Bob books and similar things, make sure that they are enjoying it, make it fun, and if they're not interested, don't force it on them, and don't sit there with flashcards. Those are really, really, really big takeaways from the interview that I want to share with you. So please, for more information, read more, look for more videos. I'm going to have more activities that are based on things that I learned from my interview. Additionally, I'm going to be making another video about reading based on what I learned from someone who has over 18 years of experience teaching young children to read. So stay tuned for that. If you like this video, please share it, like it, and definitely subscribe.